Welcome to Air Products, Phil. I'm sure you'll be a welcome addition to our team, and I hope you enjoy working for us. Before I show you around the site, I just want to give you a copy of the best working practice guidelines for you to read. It contains a comprehensive look at the tasks you'll be performing and shows the correct way to perform them. Air Products has a high emphasis on health and well-being, and by reading the guidelines, you should have a better understanding of some of the potential strains that jobs on site may present, and how you can avoid injury by performing them the correct way. The guidelines also gives you information on how to keep yourself generally fit and healthy. Please find time to read them, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me about them. Okay, let's go and see the site. This is Neil, Phil. Neil is the supervisor today. Neil will be showing you how to perform each task correctly in the different areas. This is the picking and sorting area. As you can see, Phil, the cylinders need to be sorted and moved to specific areas for refilling, and therefore need to be rolled manually. Now, the aim of this task is to move the cylinders from the pallet that they arrive on and sort them to specific areas depending on the type of gas each cylinder contains. We've been talking about awareness of posture and correct technique for injury prevention. What kind of problems can arise from incorrect technique, Neil? That's right, Neil. A danger is with the shoulders. If you don't get the balance of the cylinder correct and keep the weight balanced while rolling the cylinder, it can make your shoulders ache. Continued bad technique can lead to pain on shoulder movement, a condition known as shoulder impingement. Neil will now show you the wrong way to do it. As you can see, if the cylinder is too far away from the body, a lot of muscular force is needed to control it. Also, look at his feet. If the feet are too close together, there's a very narrow base of support, and this means it is far more difficult to balance. Thanks, Neil. Now you can demonstrate the correct technique. As you can see now, Neil has the cylinder close to his body, and therefore it is much easier to roll. His feet are nicely apart, giving him a balanced base of support. And his shoulders are in a much more relaxed position, and he's therefore much less likely to injure himself. All these biomechanical principles are explained in the Best Working Practice Guidelines, so make sure you're aware of them. Good thinking, Neil. It's also important to make sure your body is capable of taking the strain, and the guidelines show some good stretches that you can do to lessen the risk of injury. Do you think you could show Phil the stretches that are best suited to this task, Neil? Do you want to have a go at rolling a cylinder now, Phil? Hang on, Phil. Don't forget your stretches. Don't worry, Phil. You'll get it with a bit of practice, and I'm sure Neil will help you. Let's move on and look at another area. This area is where we fill the smaller cylinders with oxygen. As you can see, the cylinders are first taken out of their delivery boxes and placed on the manifolds. Neil will be showing you some of the dangers in this area. Everything you need to know about this area is in the Best Working Practice Guidelines, Phil, so make sure you read it. One of the main problems that you may encounter if you're not careful in this area is back injury. The back can be very vulnerable. Poor postural awareness and poor lifting technique can lead to problems. It usually starts with a bit of backache that niggles now and then. It will gradually get worse and become stiff with more constant discomfort, and if not dealt with, can become painful. Neil, can you show us how not to lift the cylinders, please? Now, watch what Neil is doing here, Phil. The wrong way is to bend the back forwards like this. Leaning forwards like this pushes the centre of gravity forwards and makes the body unbalanced. And this means the back muscles have to work hard at maintaining balance. It adds to the problem if the feet are too close together, as this reduces the base of support and reduces balance further. And worst of all is if you try to twist with the back bent, as this position can be very dangerous to the soft tissues of the back. Okay, Neil, you can put that down now. This time, Neil will show you the right way to lift the cylinder. The right way to lift the cylinder is to keep the back as straight as possible. Alter your body position by bending the knees down to the cylinders, getting hold of one in each hand, then using the strong muscles in the front of the thighs, straighten the knees, and then, only then, take the cylinders over to the manifold. Do you want to have a go, Phil? That's great, Phil. Well done. Always remember, you only have one back, so make sure you look after it. That's right, Phil. Don't forget that stretches are always beneficial. Which ones would you recommend for this area, Neil? Thanks, Neil. Let's move on to the next area. This is the industrial filling area, Phil. As you can see, the large cylinders have been sorted and placed in the correct areas for filling, so we shall see what this task involves. Neil will show you how we carry out the tasks in here safely and correctly. Now listen up, Phil. There are a number of danger areas in this part of the job, and it's important that you're aware of them. If you look in your best working practice guidelines, in the best working practice guidelines, this task is broken down into smaller components, which are then rated in line with potential for injury, called an ergonomic awareness index. The first of these components is coupling of the cylinders. Neil, can you demonstrate the wrong way to do this? Look at Neil's wrist, Phil. It's easy to get the wrist into a poor position. This can lead to excessive pressure and load on the soft tissues, muscles and ligaments of the wrist and hand, and can then lead to strain. The symptoms of this at first would be stiffness and aching when you're doing the task, and if not dealt with, would gradually get worse and ache more frequently before eventually becoming painful. Common problems in this area are carpal tunnel syndrome and tenosynovitis. Can you show Phil how to do it properly now, please, Neil? It's important to keep the wrist in as neutral position as possible. This is called the closed packed position, and it is the position where the joint is at its most secure. Once the cylinders are coupled up, the next task is to open the valves. This can also cause problems if the wrist is in a poor position and can involve a lot of strain. Don't worry though, Phil. Neil's got some tools that will make life a little easier on the wrists. Always use the specific tools provided to make sure you don't cause yourself problems, Phil. It's also important to have the correct spinal posture in this task, thinking about both the neck and the lower back. Isn't it, Neil? You mustn't bend your neck forward like Neil is demonstrating now. Keep it straight with your ears in line with your shoulders. That's right, Neil. You must have the correct shoulder position as well. Try to avoid lifting the shoulders up too high. You must keep your shoulders in as relaxed a position as possible. And keep your lower back straight as well. Yes, there are stretches which are good for this area as well, Phil. Why don't you show him the exercises you find most useful, Neil? Remember, always do them slowly until you feel the stretch. And most importantly of all, do them regularly. Don't forget, all the stretches are in the Best Working Practice Guidelines. Okay, Phil, that's all for now. Thanks for all your help, Neil. So, Phil, you have seen some of the major tasks that your new job will entail. Later on, you'll spend some time in each area learning the ropes, and I'm sure you'll remember to look out for the causes of strain and make sure you're sensible and take precautions to avoid any injuries. All right, time to head back to the office now. So, Phil, you've had the tour of Air Products now. Let's have a recap of the most important things about working for us. The most important thing is to work safely. Most tasks have risks involved that could lead to potential strains if they're not reduced. You need to assess these risks all the time and make sure that you keep all your joints in the correct positions to avoid excessive strain on the soft tissues. Also, you need to use the correct tools and be aware of posture. And talking of posture, just look at the way you're sitting.
Oh.
That's better. You may be sitting driving a forklift truck or filling in paperwork, so make sure you're aware of posture at all times, even when you think there's very little strain. Posture is with us all the time, not just at work. And if you think about keeping a good posture at all times, you will continue to have a healthy back. Also remember that it's important to perform stretching exercises on a regular basis to help prepare your body to deal with the strains of the job and help to prevent you getting injured. And never forget, everything you need to know is in the Best Working Practice Guidelines, so make sure you read it thoroughly. Welcome to Air Products, Phil.